My name is Jennifer Forsyth. I'm one of the Associate Deans of Admission at PC.
No, and my name is Jack Knights. I'm also an associate dean of admissions at PC, and I'm calling in from Baltimore, Maryland. So I recruit students in DC, Maryland, and Virginia.
Awesome. Yeah. And just thanks for joining us once again. We're excited that you're here. The webinar should be around 20 minutes or so. And then, like I said, we're going to save some time at the end for questions. So think of those, type them in as we go along, and we will answer those at the end. But to go ahead and kind of kick things off, just wanted to start with something pretty basic. And since the title of this webinar is the ABCs of college admissions, we figured might as well start with what is higher education. So higher education would be any school that students go on to after they graduate from high school. So that could be a community college, a college located close by without dorms or residence life, that are typically 2 years and oftentimes really quite affordable. And then we have universities, which Providence College would fall under the category of, oftentimes offering residence life and bachelor's degrees, as well as graduate programs. And then there's vocational school. So this would be something in the trades, for example, like plumbing, or for somebody who's interested in carpentry, they may go on to a vocational school. When you're thinking about the different degrees that you might be seeking, there's a couple different options there as well. So an associate's degree would be an option. That's usually a 2 or 3 year degree, and oftentimes offered at community colleges. And then there's bachelor's degree, which is largely what we offer at Providence College. Those are oftentimes 4-year degrees. And then graduate degrees would be things beyond your bachelor's degree. So things along the lines of a master's degree, a doctorate degree. And we do offer a couple different programs at Providence as well in the graduate program. Anything to add to this slide, Jack?
No, that sounded great, Jen.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, so just to talk a little bit about what we're going to be talking about tonight, to give a little bit of an overview, we're going to be talking about the college admissions experience. So I saw of a lot of the people that signed up on the webinar here tonight, that you're going into your senior year, starting to apply to colleges. Maybe some of you have already started applying, completing those applications, the essay, but we're really going to talk about what the next 9 months are really going to look like for you. And even if you haven't started yet, we have some juniors in the webinar here today. We'll talk about researching colleges, how to do that. We'll talk about the application process, financial aid, and then we'll end on one of the most important parts of the college admissions experience, which is deadlines, which are important, which we'll touch on here this evening. All right, so talking about finding your fit. That's something that you hear a lot in college admissions, is finding the school that's going to be the right one for you. There's over almost 3,000 4-year colleges and universities in the United States. So figuring out which one you're going to end up attending can be daunting at times, but a big part of how you're going to figure out which one you want to attend is going to be doing a lot of research on it. And how you filter down those schools is really what I want to talk a little bit about here today. So you see some of the factors to consider. Number one, thinking about size. Do you want a big school? Do you want a small school? At Providence College, we consider ourselves a small to medium-sized college. So about 4,000 students. Usually students colleges with less than 2,000 total students, they're going to be considered small schools. Between 2,000 and 10,000 students are going to be those medium-sized schools, and then over 10,000 students, those are going to be your large schools. So think about that. Do you want to go to a school with 2,000 people, maybe about the same size as your high school, or a 60,000 person school? But also, when you're thinking about size, thinking about the size in the classroom too, the student to faculty ratio, as well as the average class size that you're going to be in. Are you going to be in a lecture hall with 500 other students? There's a little dot down at the bottom of the lecture hall that's teaching you the class, or do you want to be in a smaller class sizes where you're going to be able to have discussions both with your professors outside of class and then with your classmates inside of class too? So that's something to definitely start whittling down from those almost 3,000 four-year schools in the country. Next, talking about location, whether you're thinking about location in a couple of different ways, whether you want to go to a rural, more of like a college town atmosphere where that's sort of the only thing going on in the town is the college, which can be a great option for some students. Do you want to go to school in a city or more of a suburban setting? So the setting when you talk about location, but then also when you think about location, how far away from home do you want to go? The majority of students in the United States go to college within 5 hours of their home. So, right now you might be thinking that you want to go across the country to another school, which is great, and a lot of students will do that. But the majority of students are going to go pretty close to home, being able to go home for a long weekend or to know some people that are going to the same school as you. So that's something to think about with location of what kind of experience you want to have, both in the classroom and outside of the classroom, and talking about inside of the classroom, those academic programs. So thinking about your major, that's a great way to whittle down those colleges of the ones that you're going to be interested in. So if you have a major that a lot of schools are going to have, that might not whittle down, filter out a lot of schools in a lot of ways, whether it's like a business or a psychology that most colleges are going to be able to offer. But if you're thinking about something like marine biology, that's going to be something that there's not going to be too many schools that are going to be offering that program. But also within the academic program, if you're thinking about business or psychology, what does that program look like? What does the alumni network look like? As well as, the classes that you're going to be taking, doing those research things before you apply to the school so that you know if it's going to be a good fit for you. And then next, college is a lot more than just your academics too. So thinking about that student life experience, the clubs and organizations that are offered at a college or university. So are you interested in Division I athletics? Are you interested in club sports, intramurals, theater, chorus, all of those types of things? What type of offerings do the colleges have? That's going to be a great way, a great starting point for you of what schools you're going to be applying to and eventually spending the next 4 years of your life. And then the final part of fit, I think, is going to be that financial aid piece. Cost is a big factor in making your college decision, which you'll usually figure out your financial aid package, what your out-of-pocket cost is going to be in the spring of your senior year once you've been accepted, and then the financial aid office does review your FAFSA application as well as your CSS profile in some cases, including at Providence College. So always a big part of the factors is that it's going to be affordable for you to go there for 4 years. Talking about some different ways to research colleges, definitely the college website is a great place to start. Lots of questions, lots of other students that are looking for the same answers as you. Frequently asked questions is a great place to hang out, both about the admissions experience as well as the different academic programs, what it's like to be a biology major at Providence College, get to know what it's like to be a student that is participating in one of our clubs. That's a great place to start. Social media as well to see some of those different sort of vibe questions. I feel like, Jen, that's a question we get a lot on the road is like, what's the vibe of Providence College, right? And it's like, how do you figure that out? You got to come visit campus.
Right.
And I think that's, one of the most important parts of a college search process is getting on the campus, not only just to see the buildings and try to visualize yourself while you're on the campus of spending 4 years there, but also to meet people, to get the experience out of what it would be like to be a student on campus. And then I also encourage students to visit more than once over the course of their senior year. So once before you apply, and then once you have that acceptance letter in your hand, you're going to see the place in a completely different light. Once you know that you have the option of being able to attend that institution for the next 4 years of your life. Different online tools as well. Jen, I think is going to talk about essay guys here tonight. But one that I really like to point out is the College Board Search tool. So that's really going to filter out a lot of colleges for you. So sort of like I was talking about with those factors, it's going to ask you those questions. What size school do you want to go to? What do you want to major in? Where do you want the school to be? And that's going to give you a nice list, a good jumping off point for you to figure out the schools that do fit the different parts of that are going to be important to you during the search process. And then finally, the net price calculator is a great tool that every school in the United States is required to have on their website. That's going to take you about 10 to 15 minutes to fill out, and it's going to give you a rough estimate of what your financial aid package is going to look like at every school, because your financial aid package is going to be different at every school that you apply to. So to get an idea of what that out-of-pocket cost is going to look like when you get that financial aid package in the spring. So overall, you're going to be making a list of schools and make sure that you have that appropriate number of schools in different target areas. And when we talk about those safety target and reach schools, a great way to do that is looking at the middle 50% of students that are accepted to a school. So you're above or below that, right in the middle of it. That's going to give you a really good idea of your chances of being accepted to the university that you're applying to.
Awesome. So once you have that list, and some of you might already at this point in time, you're going to be working on your applications. And so when looking at different colleges, you want to see what type of application they might require. A lot of schools across the country utilize the Common App. We're a Common App school at Providence College. But there's another one out there called the Coalition application. And then some colleges have their own unique applications, so they don't utilize either of those. They want you to fill out a separate one that's just for them. So kind of pay attention to that. But like I said, a lot of colleges use the Common App. That's what we use. And so that means that you're filling out one application and sending it to several different schools. And when you're doing this, you're going to submit some stuff yourself. Most of the stuff you'll be submitting, and then your high school will submit some stuff too. So if you haven't already, create an account for yourself on the Common App or the Coalition or that school's application, and get some of the easy stuff out of the way. If you're, in your senior year, it can seem overwhelming to get started, but when you first start the Common application, really, you're just going to be submitting some personal information and some family information. So that's pretty straightforward. So it's a good way to kind of just get that ball rolling. It's going to ask you things about yourself, like your high school, your birthday, your address, and then same thing, some information about your family as well. So pretty easy to get that out of the way. The next thing that you're going to fill out is a list of activities on the Common App. And so when we are reviewing those activities, we're not necessarily looking for, okay, how many different things did the student do? We're not going to tally up how many things you did, but rather we're really looking at what it is you've done and what different roles you've held in these different clubs and teams and organizations. So we like to see things that students are passionate about, but not that they've, dipped their toe into every little thing. So one other tip when you're filling those out is to try and avoid acronyms if you can. So, instead of saying I'm part of SAD, write out what SAD means, Students Against Destructive Driving. Write that out, because not every single admissions counselor is going to be familiar with every different acronym that your high school might have. The next part of the Common application is writing sample. So writing sample, AKA, also means your college essay. When you are completing your college essay, I think it might be something that you've heard a lot before, but I think my number one tip would be to make sure that it's about you. Students can have really well-written essays that I'm learning more about that student's, grandma. And I think grandma sounds really cool. And I would like grandma to come to Providence College. but I didn't learn too much about the student. So if you are kind of writing the draft of your essay and you're like, oh shoot, I wrote about my grandma, don't go and, totally change the subject. But make sure the reason that you wrote about your grandma is because it's going to tell me how she might have influenced you and made you the person that you are today. Um, Remember that writing sample, that college essay, is getting sent to all of the colleges to which you're applying. So I've sometimes read some essays, and at the bottom it says, and that's why I really want to go to X, Y, and Z university. It doesn't say that's why I really want to go to Providence College. So we know that you're applying to more than just Providence College for the most part, but you don't want to kind of have that snafu at the end of your Common App writing sample. There's also space for additional info on the Common Application. This is pretty underutilized. We don't really see a lot of students submit information there, and you might be thinking, well, what would I submit there? It's a good space if you have any sort of extenuating circumstances that happened to you throughout your high school career. So say in your sophomore year, you broke your leg and you had to have surgery and you were out of school for quite some time, but you don't really want to write your college essay about that. You feel like there's something more interesting. It might be still helpful for an admissions team to know that you were out of school for some time, and maybe that's why sophomore year we saw a dip in your grades. Um, it could also be a really great space to explain something that you just don't really know where else you might explain it. So maybe you've been engaged in a research project, throughout the beginning of your senior year. Um, and that doesn't really fit into the list of activities. Again, it's not something you want to write your college essay about, but you want us to know. Definitely put that there in that additional information section. If you don't think that there's anything to put there, don't feel like you have to put anything there. Like I said, most applicants will leave that blank, but know what that's for. And then finally, there would be a section where different colleges have a member page. And so this is specific to that college. So once you indicate that you are applying to, say, Providence College, our member page would appear within the Common Application. And that's where you're going to get specific about the school that you might be interested in. So we are going to ask you questions that pertain only to Providence College. And then there's going to be an optional supplement essay there for us too. So this would be a good space to maybe talk about Providence College, why it is you're interested, how your interests align with different academic majors or programs that we have. And know that that will only be sent to us. So when you're filling out that member page, it's only going to the college to which the member page is for. And then the last thing that you might to submit as a part of your application would be test scores. And Jack's going to talk a little bit more about test scores on the next slide and what it means to be test optional. We are test optional at Providence College, but that's something that's on you to submit. It's not something that your school counselor will submit on your behalf. What your school counselor would submit on your behalf would be your transcript, which is a very, very big part of our review process, and most colleges' review process would be the transcript, but you don't need to send your transcript to us yourself. Your school will do that. We need the official one from your school. Some colleges might ask students to self-report their different grades that they've earned throughout high school. Really, they do this so that they can kind of get going a little bit earlier on their application review process. So don't skip that step just because I'm saying, oh, your counselor will send it to us. If a school requires it, definitely submit that as soon as you can. But at Providence College, we don't. So know that your school counselor will submit your transcript to us. They'll also submit a school profile. So when we're looking at your application, we want to know the context of your transcript. So, okay, we see that this student has taken 5 AP classes. Some high schools, that might be the maximum number of AP classes offered. At some high schools, there's 35 AP classes offered. So in order for us to get context on what's been offered to a student, not just academically, but extracurricularly, we take a look at that. Finally, letters of recommendation is what's going to be submitted on your behalf. That's not something that you need to send to us. At Providence, we only require one. You definitely want to kind of take a look at your different colleges to which you're applying and see how many they'll ask for. One is all that we need, and if you haven't asked for these already and you're a senior in high school, I recommend asking for them as soon as possible. But here's some kind of common terms that might come up beyond just what's on the common application as you're continuing to go through this process that aren't always super clear. So like I said, I'll let Jack talk about test optional.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things with the college search is, Jen and I, we've been doing this for years and we have all of our different terms and things like that. Sort of like you were talking about, Jen, with SAD, right? We just kind of know what's going on with the different terms and jargon. So these were some of the terms that we thought might come up that you might not know about. And test optional is always something that people are very interested in talking to us as admissions professionals. So when we talk about test optional, it means that it is your choice to send a test score or to not send a test score to the college or university that you're applying to. I will encourage everyone here to ask the admissions counselor for the schools that you are applying to see what test optional means from them, because it is not a blanket statement that every school uses test optional in the same way. At Providence College, we'll use your test scores if you submit them. We'll use those as part of your application review. But if you don't submit test scores, we won't count it against you. Some schools you might need to submit test scores in order to apply for the honors college or get a merit scholarship. That's not the case at Providence College, but definitely something that's a great question to ask when you're on campus or when the admissions counselors are coming to your high school here this fall. So test optional, while it's a blanket statement of you're able to submit or not submit your test scores, it's definitely something that can be very individualized at every single college and university. So that's a great question to ask to admissions representatives.
Yeah, and another question that would be really good to ask as you're going through the process is, do you track demonstrated interest, or how do you use demonstrated interest? And to be honest, before I started working in the world of admissions, I had never really known about this term. So when I was going through the college admissions process, I really didn't know that this was a thing. So if you're like, what are you talking about when you say demonstrated interest? Know that you're not alone. But what that means is that some colleges want to know, aside from are you a fit academically and personally, how interested are you in attending this college? We know you're sending your common application to several different schools. How likely are you to, choose to attend this college? How interested are you? And so colleges will utilize this in the admissions process in a variety of different ways. Some colleges might say, I know the student's really interested because they came to campus 6 or 7 different times. At Providence College, we know that every student has different resources and ability to get to our campus, and some students are coming from really far away. And so we don't use the number of times a student has come to campus in our admissions process. However, some colleges do, so it's definitely worth asking the admissions counselor. I would say that a way that we know students are interested in Providence College is when they take advantage of some of those optional pieces in the admissions process. So on the previous slide, I was talking about how we have an optional supplement essay. You don't have to do it to complete your application, but to show us that, yeah, I'm interested in Providence College and here's why, and this is why I would be a good addition to your community. That's when I would say definitely take advantage of that to put your best foot forward in the admissions process. So it can mean something different at every different college. Some colleges will say, yes, absolutely, we track that. Some colleges would say, nope, not a part of our admissions process. We're just going to base it on what we see in your application. And then another piece or another term that you might hear as you're going through the process and working through different financial pieces would be a need blind school or a need aware school. Colleges are one or the other. And what this means is they're either looking at a student's financial need, how much potential grant or scholarship or loan money a student might need in order to attend that college, when they're also determining if the student should be admitted to the college or not. So it's a little confusing, but Providence College is a need blind institution. So what that means is when we are making our admissions decisions, we have no idea what the family's financial situation might be. That's a totally separate office. That's our Office of Financial Aid. And while our offices do work very closely together in the process, when we're reviewing a common application, we cannot see a student's or family's financial situation, how much money they might need to make Providence College become a reality. There are a number of schools out there who, when they're looking at a student's application, they are hand in hand looking at a student's financial situation. And the reason that a college might do that is not to say, you know, we only want students who can afford the full tuition to be able to come here. That's not the case, but rather they have their entire budget for, you know, the class of 2029 in mind, and they want to make the school a reality for all of the students that they admit. They want to know they have enough funds to support all of the students who are admitted to the college. So it's keeping their budget in mind along with the admissions process. You know, I know that higher level of need aware, but if you are applying to schools that are need aware, it's definitely, again, worth reaching out to the admissions counselor and saying, how does this play into my admissions decision? At Providence College, we're need blind, so no need to worry about that in the admissions process, but definitely think about financial aid in that process. And so that's a good segue to our next slide.
Yeah, awesome segue there. Jen crushed it. So financial aided scholarships. So like Jen said, we are the Office of Admissions. We are not the Office of Financial Aid, but just a really high level idea of what financial aid looks like for all the schools that you're going to be applying to, including Providence College. So sort of on the top half of our line there, that's going to be our need-based financial aid. So colleges will determine need-based financial aid based off of your FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, and your CSS profile potentially. So not every school uses the CSS profile. Providence College is a school that does require both the FAFSA and the CSS profile in determining um, financial aid awards. So the FAFSA, you might have seen it in the news here this past year. You might have had friends that were applying to college last year. And it was their first time rolling out a new improved FAFSA, and there were a lot of hiccups in the process. This year, the FAFSA is set to open in December for students to be able to submit their FAFSA. But the CSS profile, that's going to be available for students a little bit earlier here this fall. So the difference between the two is the FAFSA is going to be asking a lot of questions, mainly about your household's income. So talking about your parents, whoever you live with, their income, where the CSS profile is going to go a little bit more in depth, talking about different assets that your family may own. In determining a financial need package. So a lot of times the FAFSA is going to be used for that federal aid. So things like the Pell Grant, different federal loans, which are going to have, you have unsubsidized or a subsidized loan that you could be offered by the federal government. Those are going to have lower interest rates than taking out a private loan. And the difference between the two of them is an unsubsidized loan. The interest is going to start as soon as you step foot on campus and start taking classes. So the interest will accrue right then from your freshman year, where a subsidized loan, the interest won't start accruing until after you've graduated from the school. So the subsidized one does not accrue interest where until after you graduate. And then those grants, those operate a lot like scholarships. So that is money that you will not need to pay back. So that could be Pell Grants, different grants from the university that are need-based. So looking at the numbers that the FAFSA and the CSS profile give our financial aid office, they determine what type of grants that you'll be offered, as well as loans in your financial aid package. And then finally, work study, which would be just having a job on campus. So the way that work study works is you have a number that you're able to earn on campus. So you'd get a job. So it could be something like giving tours in the admissions office, answering the phone for the chemistry department, taking tickets at a basketball game, that kind of an idea of a job that you'd have on campus. And that works sort of very similar to a job that you might have right now. So you'd get a paycheck every couple of weeks and be paid hourly for that position. If you're not offered work study in your financial aid package, please know that you are still able to get a job on campus. Being sort of the similar types of jobs that I talked about, to be able to have some walking around money while you are on campus, or to help you fund your education as well. And then finally, the scholarships. So that's going to be based off of you as a student, as a person, really. So those academic scholarships, a lot of times you'll hear them called merit scholarships. That's what we call them at Providence College. Those merit scholarships, they're going to be based solely on your performance in high school. So looking at your grades, the types of classes that you took in the context of your high school, like Jen was talking about with the AP classes, they're very, very competitive scholarships, especially at Providence College. About a third of the incoming class that's accepted are offered merit-based scholarships. But there's also other scholarships, for leadership, community service. I encourage people to reach out to the place that they might have a job right now. Reach out to the American Legion in your town. There's a lot of scholarships that different organizations will have to help you out in paying for your college. Outside of just those need-based aid and the scholarships from the college or university that you're applying to. And then finally, athletic scholarships. If you are a Division I athlete, you can, or a Division II athlete, you can receive athletic scholarship for your performance or different talents as well. So if you play an instrument, some schools will be able to offer you a scholarship in that way. But the scholarships, those are money that you will not need to pay back, looking like a discount rate for the college that you are applying to. So when we talked about those reach, safety, and target schools earlier, when you're thinking about that, that's another thing to think about, is that if you're applying to a safety school, you might be able to you're above that middle 50% of GPA. You might be able to receive a merit scholarship to that college or university, based on your performance in high school. So definitely something to be thinking about as you're completing your applications here and figuring out what colleges that you're going to apply to this fall.
So, yeah, and then you want to keep in mind those deadlines. So once you've sorted out your Common App application and your financial aid applications, keep in line when you want to go ahead and hit the submit button. So there's a couple different terms that you'll hear floating out there in the admissions world. Early decision is a big one that's definitely gained a lot of popularity over the years. And if a student applies early decision somewhere, they're signing a binding agreement to say that if they're admitted to that college, they will withdraw their application from all other institutions and enroll there. You might think to yourself, like, why would somebody do that? Don't people want to have options? Don't people want to weigh out, maybe their financial aid packages, or have up until May 1st to make that decision? Yeah, a lot of students do want that opportunity, but for those students who know, a certain school is at the very top of their list and they really want to go there, signing that binding agreement oftentimes makes their chances of being admitted go up. So we're very transparent at Providence College that those students who apply early decision or early decision two do have the highest acceptance rate for us. Obviously, there's something that they see in Providence College that's a good fit and a good home, and they're making that commitment to us by signing that agreement. And so it does have our highest admissions rate. So if you're thinking, I know that certain school is my number one school, how can I really best show that college that? How can I really, really improve my chances? Early decision could be the way to go. Again, as I mentioned, it doesn't give students the opportunity to wait and see, okay, to which other schools was I admitted? What do my potential financial aid packages look like, or potential scholarships look like? What's going to be the final cost at all of these different institutions? So if you and your family want the opportunity to compare and contrast, what's the best financial fit for me, or even just overall social fit, wanting up until May 1st to make that decision, that's when I tell a student, stay away from early decision. Don't get yourself locked into anything, because there is some wiggle room with different, appeals and things like that when it comes to financial aid. And if you want that flexibility, don't sign that binding agreement. There's a lot of different other opportunities for a student to go, and early action is a great way for a student to apply if they feel like their application's ready to go and they want that answer back a little bit earlier. So with early action comes an earlier deadline, and that also means an earlier response back from the college in most cases. At Providence College, you'll see their early action deadline is November 1st, and we usually notify students in the middle of December of their admissions decision. If you're thinking, okay, November 1st is right around the corner, I'm not quite ready for that, I need a little bit more time to put the finishing touches on my application, plus I'm doing my best work yet in my senior year, I'm on an upward trend academically, and I want the admissions office to see that, that's when I might tell a student, wait until regular decision. The deadline for that for us is January 15th, and would certainly be later than early action at other colleges that offer regular decision. And with that, students hear back from us no later than April 1st, but usually it's the middle of March. For us at Providence College, early action versus regular decision are really just two different timelines. Some colleges, like with test optional and what Jack was talking about, might say, oh, there's a priority deadline if you want to be considered for a scholarship at this university. Or if you want to be considered for our honors program, you must apply early action. So definitely pay attention to what different deadlines mean at different institutions. Unfortunately, it's not the same across the board. Every college is a little bit different with what their exact deadlines are and what those might mean to the institution. But what I can say for us at Providence College is that early action versus regular decision is really just a different timeline. We don't have an admissions preference or priority for scholarships or the honors program between those two. Another type of admissions that you might see out there would be something called rolling admissions. And this means that, when your application is ready to go, feel free to submit it. And then as soon as the answer is available, the college will release it to you. So it's not, one big release day like we do at PC, but rather it might be a couple weeks after you submit your application that you might know whether or not you're admitted to the school. What I can say with that is stay organized. Again, like I just said, every college is different in the way that they're going to have their deadlines. So, put it somewhere on a calendar, a reminder of what is required and when, or make a spreadsheet, a checklist, whatever works for you, but write it down, have it all in one place. And know that a lot of colleges these days will utilize portals. We do at Providence College. So keep that portal login information somewhere with the password. And right on there, we're going to provide a checklist for you as to what might be missing, what might be optional or required, what we have already, and different deadlines for the different things that we require and might need from you. And that's true of both admissions and financial aid. You'll be able to see both of those things on your PC admissions portal. So I hope that was helpful to you. I see one question came through a couple minutes ago, which we're happy to answer. And please continue to type in those questions. We'll hang out for a couple more minutes, but also if you think of a question later tonight, later next week, next month, know that you can reach us. So on our Providence College admissions website, there's a contact tab, and under that, there will be a search bar. Type in your high school, your admissions counselors, picture, email address, information will pop up, and they're going to be a really great resource to you throughout the process, whether it's, hey, you know, I decided to switch. I don't want to be test optional anymore. I want to submit my test scores, or I've been deferred from early action. You know, what does that mean? We're here to help. So feel free to send those questions our way. But for now, I'll start with the first one that came through. And it's questions about letters of recommendation. So the question is, we only require one, but would it be helpful to have multiple different recommendations? What my answer to that would be is, if you feel as though a second or third recommender can tell us something different than what your initial recommender might tell us, they know you in a different light, then yeah, it's helpful. I always tell students, for us at Providence, the sweet spot is between 1 and 3 letters of recommendation. Once I start reading a fourth or fifth, I would say that they do become quite repetitive. And when we have thousands of applications coming in, we honestly don't have time to read that many. So yes, if you feel like, you know, okay, I have one from my school counselor, but my math teacher has had me for 2 years, and he knows me really well. And then I have a job and my boss wants to write a letter of recommendation, and that's a different, you know, side of me that the admissions team can see. Then I would say go ahead and submit a second or a third.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people will submit letters of recommendation that are going to be from the teacher that they got the A in the class from, but something that I think is a more meaningful letter of recommendation. A lot of times are students that submit letters of recommendation from a class that they struggled with, the class that they went to a teacher for extra help with, to show that you know, they're willing to go above and beyond and and work for that grade. You know, that's something that we love to see in an application, because you know, we want to have good students at Providence College, but we also want people that are going to be involved in our community and who people are going to be self-starters and advocate for themselves, you know, throughout their 4 years in college. Next question that we have here is, does applying early decision affect your financial aid package? It does not. Yeah. So, like Jen said, you know, we are need blind at Providence College. So, that is two completely different sort of tracks that you're on. You're going to be on your track for admission, and then you're also going to be on your track with the financial aid office. So they'll be reviewing your FAFSA and CSS profile as a different part, a different office, you know, different room than your application is being reviewed.
Yeah. And kind of along those lines around early decision, if you know that a school like Providence would be your early decision school, but your family's not comfortable financially, can you indicate it somewhere else on your common application? And that's a great question, because you do want to make it as a family decision. And if you decide, you know, no, we can't make that commitment, we need to have the opportunity to weigh out different financial aid packages, we hope that you would not make that commitment. But there are different ways that you can indicate that, you know, Providence or whatever school it might be is at the top of your list. And so, you know, working that somewhere into that supplemental essay that I had mentioned would be one good option. Another way would be set up an interview. So we offer interviews both on campus, and then we have a few virtual opportunities for students who are from outside of the New England area. Talk with the person in that interview, let them know kind of your situation and that school might be at the top of your list, and you would really love to attend, but you're not going to make that commitment. because of financial reasons. That's another good way to do it. And then also, if those opportunities don't work out, you can just email your admissions counselor and again, explain that. So we can add that communication to your application and kind of know that background.
Yeah, the next question that we have here is what really stands out to an admissions counselor when reviewing applications? One of my favorite questions to get because the answer is good grades. That's what really sticks out to us. No, but taking a holistic approach. So seeing, getting to know the person while reviewing the application. And this person that asked the question is specifically asking about applying to our nursing program at Providence College, which is a very new program that we have. We're in year 3 right now of bringing in those students to our nursing program. So when reviewing an application, we want you to be yourself. We want you to be your authentic self in reading your application. So, the grades, the letters of recommendation, your activities, your essay, all of those things are going to be really important parts of our review process. But especially when reading personal essays, something that stands out to me, at least, is going to be a student that is really telling me a lot about them. That's my chance to see, okay, this person, I've read their transcript. I know that they're going to be successful at PC, but I want to see that they're going to be successful in other aspects of PC too, that they're going to be great members of our community. They're going to be a good roommate. They're going to be a good club member. They're going to join a lot of different activities. That's what a Providence student is all about. So looking in for that fit, within the application and really, everybody on here, everyone applying to Providence College for the most part are strangers to me. So, when I get a chance to read an application and get to know somebody, in those 10 pages of the common application and their transcript and letters of recommendation, when I walk away from reading an application and feel like I know that this person is going to be a really good fit at Providence College.
Yeah, I'll add too is when we're sitting in our committee meetings and reviewing applications and we have a lot of really strong students, sometimes our committee members will ask like, what is the fit to the major? So not just fit to Providence College, which is like number one, that's what we're looking for when we're doing the admissions review, but then we'll take it a step further. What's the fit to major? So especially with the nursing program, why does a student want to become a nurse and what experience might they have that has prepared them well for that program? So if you have any real world experience, whether that is because you were volunteering, say at a hospital, or you yourself went through some sort of experience where a nurse really inspired you to go into that field, highlight that on your application. And that's not just true for our nursing program, that's, across the board. So if you are thinking you want to go into education, why do you want to become a teacher? What experiences do you have to prepare you well for that profession? If you're listening in thinking, oh no, I have no idea what I want to do, so what am I going to write my college essay about? Know that undeclared is very popular at Providence College. And so it's not a requirement, but if you have a major in mind, having a fit to that major is helpful. I was undeclared when I was a student. We have a really strong advising program for that at PC. And actually, it's one of the most popular majors for our incoming freshmen. So don't stress about that. But when asked the question, kind of what helps, stand out if you have a program in mind, seeing a fit to that program.
Yeah, covered a lot there, Jen, huh? Well, we threw a lot at everybody.
All right. Well, I hope that was helpful. I don't see any other questions right now, but like I said before, definitely feel free to connect with your admissions counselor if you think of one later. And thanks so much for spending time with us tonight. I know at the beginning I said 20 minutes and we're on minute 50. So apologies for going a little bit over, but I do hope it was helpful. And thanks for sticking with us tonight.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Go Friars. Have a great night.